Welcome to Mom Matters. I'm your host, Alyssa Dver, and in the next 10 easy-to-watch minutes, we're going to give you some really practical tips for productive parenting. I am so thrilled tonight. Our topic is, are we there yet? Traveling with Tots, and our expert here is Dr. Maureen O'Brien. Dr. Mo, as she's called, is a true expert. She has directed many parenting programs at Boston Children's Hospital with the very famous Dr. Brazelton.
Right.
She also runs a very successful consulting and coaching business for parents and corporations, and that can be found at her website, destinationparenting.com, which is chock full of information, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Great.
We got lots more on Dr. Mo. She is a frequent speaker, consultant. You talk to all those parenting magazines that we all read. You also have this book that is just fabulous, Watch Me Grow 1, 2, 3. She's the author of the book. And as if this isn't enough already, she has twin boys, age 13. You're fantastic, Maureen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
This is a topic that we read a lot about, and as parents, of course, we panic about every time we want to get in the car, go on a plane somewhere with our kids. It's, oh my gosh, what do I have to do to prepare? So I'm going to kind of leave it open to you. What are the biggest issues that parents need to worry about before and during a trip?
Well, I think there are a few factors parents really have to think about, and usually the adult version of travel is different than the child's version. So we get all hung up about details that the child doesn't care about. What the child is really concerned about is, will my routine still happen? Will I still get my snack? Will I still have my blankie? What's going to be different? And so I think the biggest thing you can do as a parent to help your child while traveling is think about routines, think about what makes them comfortable, and really analyze what your child is like. Some kids are good at transitions, some kids are not good at transitions. And so kids that are not good at transitions need a lot more lead-in time, a lot more things like reading books about flying on an airplane, things that are concrete, more comfort items. Kids that are experimental and like new things will find it to be a really great adventure.
And other ones might not, right?
Well, it's a controlled place. I mean, the kind of things that make us uncomfortable as adults, Alyssa, are also really hard for kids. So being stuck in a small space, having to wait in lines, having other people tell you what to do. Kids don't like that anyway.
I don't like that. Trust me, none of that sounds
right.
Good.
So, to some degree you're going to prepare them and you're still going to end up with real surprises on your trip.
How far in advance of taking a trip do you actually start talking to your child about it? And does it depend on the age of the child?
It depends on the age of your child and, again, their temperament. If they're an anxious child and you sort of over-prepare them, you can create problems where there aren't any.
Oh, good point.
So what I say is talk about what you're going to do when you get there. Less about what's going to happen, how many planes, how many times we're stopping. Those kinds of things are unnecessary. Think about the positives. We're going to see a new place, we're going to visit Nana, we're going to go to a zoo, and be careful about what you promise, because the one thing I've learned traveling with twins and watching other people travel is, sometimes you don't get to the zoo. Sometimes what you planned to do didn't happen, and so telling them and then pulling back on your promise can really create a problem when you're traveling.
Let's talk a little bit about things like preparing for the unexpected or emergencies. What kinds of things in our head as well as in our suitcase do we need to go forward with?
Well, I think the things parents probably are already thinking about are, health issues, if your child gets sick on the road, and so certainly important things that you're probably already going to do. Have your kid's insurance card with you. Have your primary caregiver's phone number programmed into your cell phone. Those kinds of things are really critical. But also there's small things you can do, like, bring along some Benadryl or, children's Tylenol or, something that your child has taken before. Being on a trip is not the first time to dose your child up with a medication they've never had.
Good point. Yeah.
So, I know parents that have actually talked about that and their child got a rash or they got very active on the plane and had a side effect that just made the trip worse than it needed to be.
I can't even imagine that, one of those Sudafed jitter things.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about safety. Car safety, plane safety, and just general safety. You go into a foreign place. What are some of the things that you need to think about in those terms?
Well, I think the good news is that you can tell your child, it's not my rule, it's the pilot's rule. It's the airline's rule. It's, I'm not making this up. So they tell you you have to be in your car seat at a certain age or up until it was 40 pounds to have a car seat on a plane. People used to carry their babies in their laps because maybe they want to save the money on an additional seat. I say really look at the big picture, because having your child in your lap for a long period of time is stressful for both of you. And so if you can possibly afford it, the best thing to do is to get 2 seats. If you're going to, not get your child a seat, that leave the middle seat open, and chances are the minute somebody sees a child there, they're going to go elsewhere and you'll get a seat for free. So, you can hope that happens, or you can really plan, bring the car seat on, load up ahead of time with an easy foldable stroller, and, just try to think portability.
Yeah, that is really key. What about like safe toys to bring, things? I think, see, you brought something here that I think looks really cool.
Well, I'm a big fan of multitasking, and as any mom is, and so the more you can bring things that are small but washable, because things will spill and get ruined, and this one happens to be both a toy and a teether. And so, again, if you drop it, it's easy to pick up under the seat. It's fun for your child to play with. It doesn't make noise to avoid, to annoy your fellow travelers.
Right.
And so there's sort of do's and don'ts about what to bring on a plane too.
Okay, those are really good points. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Dr. Mo is going to talk about how to keep your kids entertained, which is all critical, and also how to deal with picky eaters while you're on the road.
Right.
We'll be right back.
Every parent knows at any crowded venue, just a split-second distraction is all it takes. And without identification, your child is lost. Finally, there's a solution. Wanderwear. T-shirts and child identification tags that give parents peace of mind.
We're back here with Dr. Sorry again, I didn't want to say that. I just wanted to say. Welcome back. We're here with Dr. Maureen O'Brien talking about traveling with Tots. Dr. Mo, how do we keep those little monsters busy so they're not screaming and flailing in the back seat of a car or in the plane? What do we do?
Well, the enemy of any child is I'm constrained and I'm bored. So as a parent, you have to be creative. And there's things that you can bring. Music, silent toys, books, things that the child can do to entertain themselves. But then if they get bored, there's lots of word games you can do to engage them, have them look at their surroundings and try to point out things, who's the first one to spot a certain color, etc. And so counting games, anything like that your child will be able to be engaged in, but it won't distract you from driving.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I sometimes thank goodness for the DVD player, but at times, it's enough and you want to do some other things.
Right.
So those are good ideas.
Right.
Picky eaters, that's another key one. I know it's hard in general dealing with picky eaters, even worse when you're traveling.
Right, and I think there's a difference between picky eaters and kids with allergies. So if your child has an allergy, you need to alert the airline or the train company or whatever, and they will announce that, and people around you will respect that. But you need to also have a backup, have lots more snacks than you think. Don't show it all to your child because they're going to want it all. So bring it out and sort of space it so that periodically when their energy is getting low, that's another way they can spend some time.
But definitely bring stuff with you on the road.
Bring, and there's very unfamiliar foods in a lot of places kids travel to, so that's another way kids find comfort is, goldfish are the same when I'm at Nana's and when I'm at home.
Oh, that's a good point. We've skimmed the surface on a lot of these issues, I realize, but I know that there's some tremendous resources starting here with your book again, the Watch Me Grow 1, 2, 3, available on Amazon.com and bookstores and so forth, but also I want to let people know about your website as well, because on destinationparenting.com there is just a wealth of articles and all kinds of resources that get into more details on everything that we talked about today, right?
Right. I mean, I really hope that they're helpful tips for parents, because it should be fun. It should be an adventure. It shouldn't be stressful.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to wrap up today's show and once again refer you to our blog, which is running on the bottom of the screen right now. There we list all our previous shows, information about upcoming shows, and ways that you can subscribe so you can be notified about new shows coming out. Thanks again for joining us. This is Alyssa Dver for Mom Matters, giving you practical tips for more productive parenting.